Well, guys, you found it. The very best marinara and meatballs recipe you're going to find. Wait till you try this one. Well, howdy folks, and welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to be making spaghetti and meatballs. Now, I decided to do a spaghetti and meatball show because, well, this dish is really popular in the United States. And I wanted to show a really good quality, easy to make spaghetti and meatballs that folks could do at home. Now, I know there's a lot of folks that want to learn how to make this, but they don't know how much of which herbs to use or which spices or any of that. And that's what we're going to open up today. I'm going to show you everything that you're going to need to know about making a basic marinara, but a very good one. This is going to be a marinara sauce based upon a recipe that I was taught when I was a boy. Now, when I was a kid, one of my cousins had married a gentleman, an Italian gentleman from New York. He was a member of a family that owned a chain of Italian restaurants there, and they had done very well in New York. I believe also in Chicago. Anyway, they taught me the fundamentals and the basics of making a really good marinara. And I'm talking about starting with the fresh tomatoes and the Italian sausage and the whole bit. I mean, we went into great detail on it. And so I learned a lot from this guy. And when I was a kid, I was really focused on cooking a lot. I was very interested in it, so my mind was quite open to that. And from this individual, I learned a great deal about Italian influences and flavors and things like that. And so what I want to do is to show you a recipe that I developed from what I learned from him. And this recipe is based upon ingredients that are commonly found in most people's pantry. So guys, this is an inexpensive dish, but it's delicious. I want to teach you how to make meatballs that are herbed and flavored just the right way. And I'm going to show you just the right way to cook them too. It's a lot easier than you think. So I'll tell you what, let's get in the kitchen and let's get busy making us some spaghetti and meatballs. Come on. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks great. Now guys, we have our ingredients right back here, and I'm about to show you how to make this really cool marinara. This is something that I came up with so long ago because of what I was taught from other family members. And the story on that's really neat. The background's so cool there, but I learned so much from them. And from them, I learned how to produce a wonderful marinara that could be done in the home on any given night from ingredients that are commonly kept in one's pantry. All right, so this is a great recipe that's wonderful, low cost, easy to make, and we're going to get into the whole of it. So guys, come over this way and let's look at these ingredients, and then I'm going to get on with making some of the best tasting spaghetti and meatballs that you're ever going to have the pleasure of enjoying. Come on over. Now guys, a marinara sauce starts with the tomato product. No, I'm not using fresh tomato product. I told you that I wanted to do this with stuff that people normally keep in their pantry. This is tomato paste, and I have 12 ounces of it right here. There's going to be a couple of spices, a little salt, a little bit of garlic. I'm going to go about a tablespoon, maybe slightly more on that garlic. That'll be about 4 cloves minced. Rosemary, I'm going to need a couple of teaspoons on that. 2 teaspoons rosemary, 2 teaspoons of thyme, 2 teaspoons of oregano, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of basil. We're also going to be using all of these items in the meatballs in addition to some cheese. And I have a half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. You can either use the fresh grated like I'm doing here, and just kind of let it sit out and dry for a little while. You can break it down into smaller pieces if you want. Now over this way, of course, if you're going to make meatballs, you're going to have meat, right? And so what I have here is a couple of pounds of chuck. You can use whatever you want. Now, I'm not using all of this, all right? I'm going to be grinding all of it, but I'm going to be using about a pound to about 1.25 pounds of this to make my meatballs with. Anybody who's ever watched my shows knows I like to grind my own meat for very good reasons. All right, all I have to do when I'm grinding, so you'll know, you need to fix your meat so it'll fit down into your grinder, all right? So I'm just going to cut simple little strips that'll drop right down in there. I'll take several pieces of my meat, put them up in my tray, and then just start working them through. There we go. As you see, it goes really pretty quick once it starts going. Okay, we're done. That's all there is to it, folks. It's just that easy to grind your own meat. And what I get here, is this far superior, much more subtle, much more sticky, willing to bind to itself product. Okay guys, I wanted to get real good close-up shots of the next of this. Our garlic. Now to get this papery husk off of the outside of your garlic, I'm going to teach you a wonderful method that I developed a long time ago when I was a kid, and I've been using it ever since. It works like a charm. Simply take each clove, and without twisting hard enough to break the meat on the inside, just gently back and forth like this, twist. You heard the cracking. Let's take this off. Boom. There it is. Let's do it again. Boom. There it is. Our garlic has been dehusked without any real work. Nice thing about this is I get a whole clove. All right, guys, let's get on with processing this. First thing we do is crush our garlic to keep it from bobbing all around on us. So just give it a push. A couple more of those big ones and we're ready to go at it. Okay, here we go. That's what I normally do. That garlic is ready to go now. All I have to do is get it down in my dish and we are up and cooking. All right, guys, it's time to get on with putting our spices and herbs down in our meat. And it's pretty much the mimic of the sauce, all right? So I want a little bit of salt down in here, and I'm going to start with, about a half a teaspoon, half to 3/4 of a teaspoon. And that's all it's really going to need. The thyme. I don't need a whole lot of thyme on this, okay? So I'm using 1 teaspoon. Remember, that's 1 teaspoon to about 1 pound and a quarter of meat. On the oregano, again, oregano is potent, so all I really need here is 1 teaspoon. And if you doubt my measurements on this, trust me. For many years, I practiced putting things in measuring spoons, and then I'd put it in my hand to look at it. And so that way I would know exactly what that item looks like measured in my hand, and I would know if I'm getting the right measurement or not. Rosemary is twiggy and it's dry. Again, 1 teaspoon on that. See, this doesn't take very long, guys. It's there. See how I've rubbed it? I now have rubbed rosemary the same way I put rubbed thyme in there. Now I've got rubbed rosemary in it. 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons. 1 of the basil. Whoops, that's more than a teaspoon. That was a teaspoon and a half. See what I mean? I can spot it. Boom, teaspoon. On my garlic, that was those 4 cloves. I'm going to put about half or a little less right down in here. There we go. The cheese was for the meatballs, remember? All of the cheese goes in there. And in this case, I'm going to have the most fabulous little meatballs. You see what I've done here? All I've done is just sit and mix all that together. Okay guys, it's time to get on to making that marinara. Okay, again, that 12 ounces tomato paste. Get it right down in there. Okay, now in order to get my paste thinned, Don't put all of your water in there at once, guys. Just put a little bit. I've started with 4 cups. The reason I didn't tell you how much water it's going to take to make this happen, well, that's impossible. It depends on the brand of tomato paste you use, on how concentrated it is. Okay, some are more concentrate than others, and they're going to take, of course, more water. They will end up making a larger batch, you better believe it. So, if you will use your typical canned tomato paste, and I know it sounds nasty, you might be thinking, well, why isn't he cooking with fresh? Okay, here's the real truth, guys. Tomatoes, when they're picked in the field, the ones that go to the grocery store are picked green from the plant. Okay? The ones that are red, that were vine ripened on the plant, go directly to canning because they won't make it to the grocery stores without spoiling. Okay, they'll spoil within a day or two. So they go straight to canning. And they get turned into this stuff. So this is actually the only, except for going to farmers markets in season, this is the only way that you're going to get truly vine ripened tomato. Now, I know there's some people out there that are saying, hold it, Chef Trotter, we can correct you on that. I buy vine ripened tomatoes at the grocery store. Well, guess what? Okay, I've grown tomatoes. I farmed tomatoes. I know about tomatoes. So here's the real truth. That little snippet of vine that you get in the grocery store that has tomatoes on it, guys, that is not actually vine ripened tomatoes. It's an industry ploy. Essentially, they're lying to you. They're lying to you about the tomato product that you're getting. Plain and simple. And it's disgusting, it's nasty, and it is taking advantage of ignorance in people. Not stupidity, ignorance. There's a lot of folks that just don't know how the tomato industry works. Now I want some salt in there, and on this, 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon, just like that. If you'll remember, as I mentioned earlier, with our meat, rosemary is twiggy. Brittle and twiggy and not very pleasant in your food. People that put, now when I'm measuring this, I'm measuring the twigs, okay? So that 1 teaspoon, not rubbed, but 1 teaspoon of the twig version of the rosemary, the whole leaf is what they call that. Because those are what those really are. Those are the leaves of the rosemary, but you know, it's a thorny, it's like an evergreen basically. And when those little leaves are dried, they get hard and they're sharp and pointy and not pleasant. That's another teaspoon. So you want them measured in that way, not after they are rubbed. So what was that? Less than a minute, and I've got a nice powdered product there. Right down in that pot. Okay. Our time, same thing. 1. That's 3/4. Come on. 2 teaspoons. A rough teaspoon. Okay, rough teaspoon oregano. Boom. What have you been seeing me measure out, guys? Does it look exactly like that? Boom, huh? 1 teaspoon. Isn't that easy? 2. Okay, this one is that old tablespoon measure. That guy right there. So what did I say? With 3 tablespoons? Tablespoon. Boom. The rest of our garlic right there. Wham. All right. All of our spices are down in that pot. All of our herbs down in the pot. And we're ready to go with this. Delicious. Now, the next thing, we need to bring that up in temperature and enjoy it. Now, also I'll be adding just a little bit of olive oil. It really seems to be the trick. All right, guys, I'm going to put some flame underneath this. We'll bring it up in temperature, and I'm going to start working out my meatballs right now and put down into this. Guys, it's time to get those meatballs made. At this point, it's your choice. Do you want big meatballs? Do you want little bitty meatballs? See, you get to make your meatballs however you want. Right down in my pot. So I've got 6 big, beautiful meatballs down in my sauce. I can't wait. This is going to be so delicious. There it is, guys. Our meatballs down in that sauce. Beautiful, beautiful looking setup, isn't it? And what's going to happen is that's all going to come up in temperature together. Those meatballs and sauce are going to be cooking together. They're going to marry their flavors to one another. And in a little bit, you're going to have the best meatballs and marinara you've ever put in your mouth. And it was so easy to do at home, guys, without really having to spend a lot of money. Inexpensive and delicious. We are now 30 minutes in on this cook. As you can see, meatballs cooking up beautifully. You don't have to have all that binder in them for them to hold their shape. You see that, guys? They held up just fine. Isn't that neat? And we have this beautiful, beautiful marinara going on here. Oh, the flavor is divine. I've already tasted it, and don't forget to taste yours. And I'm going to give that plenty of time to cook, guys. I'm in no rush on mine. And here's a little trick. If you want to thicken that sauce, cock the lid just a little bit, and that will allow it to steam off a bit quicker. The sauce will thicken up quicker, and it'll be just to the texture of your liking. All right, guys, there it is. Spaghetti and meatballs. Now, it's an old favorite. It's a goodie. Everybody likes spaghetti and meatballs. It's so good. First, let's slice open one of these meatballs. Let me get a knife. Okay, first thing I want to show you. Look inside of this. Looks slightly pinkish. All right, guys, that doesn't mean it's undercooked. That was cooked for an hour and a half. Trust me, it's cooked all the way through. That slightly pinkish hue comes because of the effect of cooking raw meat in something that has preservatives in it. Now, that vitamin C, that ascorbic acid, acts like a preservative to that meat, so you get a slight pinkish. I'm going to tell you the truth. I could have cooked it for 3 hours, 4 hours, the same color. Right, exactly. Get a little of this sauce, a little spaghetti. That's right. I was taught how to twirl it right up on my fork. Nothing like spaghetti. Oh man, the flavor of that sauce. Oh God. I don't get to have this very often, guys. Pardon me, that was my bread timer. Got more than one thing going on here. The herbs, slight hint of garlic. That cheese just makes it rich and pulls it all together and binds it. It's really cool how it works. Wait till you try it. Guys, I would like to say thank you very much for watching Texas Cooking today. To my subscribers, dudes, extra special thank you to you. If you haven't subscribed, why not? Why not? I've got great recipes coming out all the time. It's going to be a regular thing. I usually hit on Thursdays, okay? So look for me, guys. Subscribe, click the bell. I'm going to let you know when the new stuff comes out. You're going to like what's coming up. It's really good recipes. Thank you again for this show. And please click like. One last thing, guys, if you would. Please just have a good day. Bye-bye.